All right. All right, good. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Paranormal Pursuit News. Today we have with us Sandy and Angelique, and we're going to discuss the hybrid topic, which I know, Sandy, we were just saying the other day that there's so many different variations of people that are here. I suppose first we should explain what a hybrid is, if one of you would like to take that.
Sure. I mean, I would love to jump in with that. One of the things we have to remember that is that from the commencement of this planet, there are currently, until current, 5 different types of soul origins. One, as we know, obviously is human. One is extraterrestrial. One is hybrid, which is what we're going to talk about today. One is celestial, those being from the other side that have chosen to work with us and descend. And the last is really the other category that includes plants and animals and minerals and everything that has soul energy or energy. So, hybrid, I think, is what we're talking about today. And we want to talk about the different types of hybrid and how we know who or what is a hybrid, the signs to look for. And I know, Maya, you and I have done some work on that in the past. I think we want to talk about really, people are a little curious. Well, if I call myself a human, how do I know that I'm actually something else? We're talking about energy, soul energy.
Right. I know that they have their lists, and I feel like, and Angelique, I don't know if I'm sure that you fit into a lot of these categories too, where you feel like you have this sense of a mission, even if you don't know what that mission is. You feel homesick, but home for where? You're not sure, but somewhere up there. A lot of hybrids are very sensitive. I mean, like Angelique, what signs do you see in other hybrids?
I think basically for me and what I see in a lot of other people is just this sort of misunderstanding. It's the absence of really that vibration of love, and there is a sort of a disconnect and that longing that there is something else. It could be a misfit. You may feel weird. Probably, one of the signs from very young, you may be able to educate very quickly, sort of really chew material very fast. So the learning capacity is very quick. And also, I think that multidimensional aspect where we can listen to multiple conversations at the same time, whilst at the same time having a conversation as we are right now. So it's like all of those senses. And so I think when people are coming in young, whether it's you're born as a hybrid and you have that blend, or whichever category, and there are many within that hybrid, and I'm sure we'll talk about that. But yes, it's almost like they're there is a sensitivity, and a lot of them are empathic, and they don't know how to hold their energy yet properly. They're sort of very influenced.
Right.
So yes.
I'd like to jump in as, my other profession as a psychologist. A lot of the things the labels that are offered, particularly for children, attention deficit, the hyperactivity, children that are on the spectrum, a lot of those behaviors are the type of behaviors or the type of deficits that come in under this category as well. There's a lot of issues with children, particularly if they're star seeds. And of course, they're labeled psychologically because that's what we understand and what we do.
A star seed, you mean a hybrid?
Well, no, I would call a star seed a star seed.
So what do you think is a star seed?
All star seeds may or may not be hybrids. So the difference is, we'll get in. Let's go there. Yeah. So a star seed usually, in my understanding, is we're referring to someone who comes in and is born in as a hybrid. But a star seed is someone who is coming in, and sometimes they're actually coming in without being born star seed genetics, meaning hybrids are generally, there's what I call a DNA. There's a spiritual lineage. There's a lineage of your parents. One of your parents was a hybrid, or one of your parents was an ET. A star seed may be a new arrival that, okay, their lineage is different. They were human, or they were one of the other 4 categories. This time they're coming in. So they're what we used to call indigos. They're new arrivals. And of late, because of the point we're at in our evolution, there are many, many star seeds coming in. Many children are coming in.
Know that's what they are? Or would it just be like for example, And I know I'm not the only one. I have like a big period of my time from like from before 10 years old that I have almost no memories. Could that be because I was a starseed that came in and took over my other body? Like, how would that work if you weren't born? As
you know, regardless of what our origin is, we all come in with what's called innate soul memory, Akashic record. Every soul, regardless of your origin. We're all born with the availability to access that. As soon as we start having the human experience, because all of us take on these bodies and we take on these human lessons, as soon as we have these experiences, we start to become, and I'm going to use the word Angelique used, disconnected from our soul knowledge. Because we live in all of the emotions here that extraterrestrials and hybrids have already gone through, and they live in much higher emotion. So we become
they've mastered.
So, yes, that they have mastered, absolutely. They're much more ascended energetically. So one of the things that we need to do is when we go into meditations and we start using our higher senses, we can access that soul memory. Akashic record readings, we can access that soul memory. So to answer your question, the true answer is no, because there may be that disconnect from innate soul knowledge.
right.
So you could come in and not know what you are. And one of the things that I think all three of us are involved in, and Robert as well, is working with, I know that I work with awakening individuals to help them discover truly what their origin is. We're not telling them, we're awakening them. And with this current evolution, what's happening, there's massive awakening. Many individuals are waking up and realizing, well, whoa, okay,
different. Why am I so different? And then it's nice when they find other people that are different. It's nice that when we find each other, because it gives you that sense of validation that you're not crazy, that you have these memories, that you know that something is off, that you're missing this big chunk of information that you're slowly remembering. And it's nice to have other people that feel that same way, because you still have that big group that makes fun of it.
Support group. I'm literally, as you know, I'm running a support group for individuals, and everyone in there is a hybrid.
Angelique, you do a lot with energy, and I know that you're a hybrid or a starseed, and I think that we should definitely touch on the different types as well. But I feel like there is this duality between the truth and what people are wanting to believe, even if they know it's not the truth, because it's easier for them, or they just want to ignore it. So as a hybrid, as that extra sensitive type of soul, I mean, not one, like, how do we protect ourselves against these other entities that may not have our highest intention at the forefront of their interactions with us, and also like, what should we look out for? Because let's face it, are all hybrids good? I doubt it. I mean, there's always a duality, right? So I don't know if you want to jump in on that one.
I will. I think, there is an agenda, and we are in a battle of light and dark, and our planet, along with others, are going through a cycle. We have a change of cycles happening. I would say the element of protection, when we say protection, it's almost like then there's something to fear.
Right.
I would say yes. I would also say someone that I found with good physical boundaries in this world and on the earth in 3D usually has good boundaries in spirit. Now, the whole confusion process between A to Z there's many steps. So I would say, yes, there seems to be, and it has been for the dawn of this planet, a distortion somehow of certain texts, whether it's in scene text or Bhagavad Gita or this, something else, where information is out there, there's 80% is correct, and there is a distortion, it's that trap. So I think that distortion can come in many forms. Where I think it boils down to is for people to begin to really know what they know. How do we know what we know? Well, we got to trust what we know. So despite the conversation or the energy that we're experiencing, because we know spirit can be tricky, the testings can come. So when you're meditating, it's like, who am I meditating with? Again, like I would say to people, yes, the light bulb can work, but where is actually that source of power coming from? Are you plugging into the light, or are you plugging into the dark? Because both will give you light, but one is much easier and more fluid, and it's authentic and it's truth, and this is what we're all here for. And the other one is more of a trickster energy. We can do this. It's more of a manipulative energy. So I would say anything that demands anything that demands anything of you that is not, is probably you're tapping into something that is not of the light and positive, because from where we stand and where we are, it's about not violating free will, and that's any dimension.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes, because
So
it feels often like negative entities are trying to pull the more sensitive, lighter entities off their path, constantly trying to, like, that's like their only game. Pull you off your path. Let me bring you down to my misery level.
And that's kind of.
Well, there's another. I'm sorry.
No,
There's another way to there's a way to detect this as well, and there are universal laws that are obeyed by all galaxies, all universes. They're universal laws. There's many of them, and the first one is that there's no allowance, literally, of penetration of energy. And what I mean by that is, we have to know that if we speak to, in a meditative state, we speak to and command that whatever we're allowing ourselves to interact with or channel be of complete light with intention of no harm or lower vibration. And we command that has to be obeyed. Herein lies the problem. People's fear, what they say, is superseded by their fear. But that is a universal law. And that's the number one thing I teach everybody when I teach them channeling. They have to believe that. And if they do, they will be protected at all times.
Okay, but not to be a Debbie Downer, but there are, you have family, or you have your boss, or you have your landlord. I mean, let's just go with your family or your boss, because both of those things maybe, well, you can't change your family. Maybe you could change your boss. There are certain situations that there is negativity. So how do you keep yourself? You can't just be like, oh, well, nothing negative can come around me. If people close in your life have negativity that are trying to bring you in, so what's that balance?
We have to.
I mean, Angelique said it before, spiritual boundaries. And Angelique said it before, absolutely, spiritual boundaries. Yeah, and
you're the only one that can make that boundary.
What she said it
correct.
You can. It's your responsibility. Absolutely. Mm-hmm. You're allowing the negative. Not you. I meant that was a general.
Right. No, I know.
Allowing the negativity.
I'm not the only one. You're not. Yes, our listeners. I'm sure there's plenty that are like, yeah. What do I do about my mother-in-law? Or, you know what I mean?
It's free will. You can approach a situation. You know, I use this example all the time. You see on the news that there was a drive-by shooting and a child is killed, and that parent on the news is forgiving the shooter. What is that? That is a spiritual boundary. She's not allowing that negative energy to really attack her. She's living in a higher vibration. So
that does make sense.
It's
you just fight it with love.
Was saying.
We detach.
You're fighting it with
love. You detach lovingly, and either they really calibrate, and it's harder with our inner circle, with our family, because it's family. But what I think has been happening over the last few decades is we were experiencing this wave, but it was more sort of external. In this last 5-10 years, we're seeing it up close and personal. And it's in that area, because we can detach from people on the outside. When it comes to the family, it's a little...
Of course.
It's a little harder, but again, it's if you, in this way, toxicity is toxic. So if you stay back and you detach, either they'll recalibrate and come back in the correct way, or they won't.
And I guess it takes practice too, right? Like anything else, it takes practice knowing how to, oh, wait, this negative energy is coming my way. Okay, take a breath, you know, sage or whatever you need to do, or bring that light back in through you. And, practice, right? And then we're also seeing there's a lot of different types of hybrids, which I feel like we should go over, a few of those as well. Like, how would somebody know what hybrid they may be a mix of? There has to be.
They have different looks. They have different looks. Like I would say, the Arcturians are very tall. To me, it's a very elemental. strong energy, almost like an old tree. It's that energy, that
And I know
presence
some
of,
people like that, so that would definitely
yes,
come to my mind.
is stronger. I would say, the Venusian and the Palladian. It's softer. It's more creative. The Syrian, to me, is more. How would I say?
They're more like the protectors in a
Scientific.
lot of ways. Oh,
Scientific,
okay.
though. That's
Mm-hmm.
sort of very scientific, very sort of
Doesn't that
mathematical,
go back to
very
like the
petite,
like
very
ancient Egypt
petite.
and stuff, right?
Correct. So I would say Syrians are smaller in body mass. Arcturians are taller. Then we have the Nordics and all these other, Essassani, and I'm sure Sandy will jump in here. And
We know Sandy's favorite, the Palladians.
Well, absolutely. As a Palladian
Like, those are my
myself,
people.
and I am finally welcoming being able to say that. I
Yeah,
got my
come out of
peeps
the
behind
spiritual
me
closet,
somewhere. Um,
right?
yeah, really. I think it's important, though, to also mention that there are different types of hybrids. So hybrid could be a mixture of several different things. A hybrid can be, it's similar to, like, if you have an Italian parent and a Spanish parent, you are of those two backgrounds. Hybrids are not just an extraterrestrial mix with a human. There are hybrids which are two different types of extraterrestrial mixes. There are hybrids that
correct.
may
We can.
be human mixed with animal category. It may be an extraterrestrial mixed with animal category. So there are so many different combinations of hybrids.
Yes,
And just
you
to
can
jump
have
back to
an
something you
entity.
were saying, yeah, I was just gonna go there. You read my mind. You must be psychic. Um, Go figure. I was going to go back to something about protection. So, a lot of people forget that Mother Gaia, our planet, also has offered us so many things that are natural to protect ourselves. For instance, a lot of minerals, a lot of chemicals, and I mean chemicals in a good way. That's what I meant by that. People use different types of crystals. People use, different types of elements. There are lingams. There are certain things that we really can use that are of this planet. Even just to go out and walk in nature when you're feeling like you've been attacked. That's something that can literally help you
That always
to
brings me a
create
lot of
and
peace.
build.
Seeing that bird or seeing that butterfly.
Yeah, to build up, you talked about the spiritual boundaries, and Maya, before you said, well, how do we do that? It's like flexing a muscle. You need to build them up. One of the
Mm-hmm.
ways to do that is to be connected with the earth, to anchor yourself into earth, to be in earth. Use the crystals, use the oils, use the minerals,
I have
etc.,
hugged
etc.
trees before.
So,
I have to like give me your grounding. Let me feel your energy.
yeah.
And I think it's really interesting as a real basic thing, as Sandy was saying about, connecting to nature. We're a society for the most part where we all walk around with shoes all the time. And even if it's leather soles, but the Crocs and everything,
I'm always barefoot.
it really sort of disconnects us from that vibration. And we see it how, no judgment to anyone watching that they dress their little
Got their
puppy
shoes
dog
on.
up or something. But when they have their shoes, at least in the beginning, they can't even stand up. They're falling over each other. And part of that reason is they've just completely lost their connection to the earth. The animal will adapt eventually, but we're no different actually. So yeah, barefoot, little nature, sit in sand, whatever that is.
Do you think there's a lot of just all humans here still? And without sounding snobbish, I hope it doesn't come off to any of you all humans out there. Do you think that they're a little less evolved? Because I think that you need that hybrid ET energy to be able to expand your mind enough. I feel like the human energy is kind of fallen behind, but maybe I'm wrong.
But that kind of we're creating a separation and division when we're all here now to unite.
But isn't there though in some ways? Because I
Well,
feel like the humans have made the same mistakes again and again and again. Slavery, war, where the hybrids, at least that I know, they're the most peaceful people. Now, maybe there's combinations of hybrids that are not. Maybe
that's why they're
correct.
here. I mean,
maybe
that's why
Hitler was
the
part hybrid.
interplanetary
I don't know,
Council.
you know.
I apologize. There's a delay, so I didn't mean to speak over you.
No, that's
That's why
okay.
they're here. That's, we talked about last time about the Interplanetary Galactic Council, that they sent teams to this planet, what it was originally developed and created, because those beings are from other planets that have evolved prior to our evolution. And because they've evolved prior to our evolution, like Angelique has said, they are functioning in higher emotional levels. They're telepathic. They don't speak verbally, et cetera, et cetera. And not to be snobbish, like you said, that doesn't mean that they are better or worse than us. They're more evolved, which is where our evolution is going if we would all just wake up and get on board.
I think there's a lot of just all human, no mix. Like me, I'm sure I'm a smorgasbord of some Palladians, some Arcturians, some this, some that. Sometimes I think that it's my first life on Earth. Sometimes I think it's like my millionth. You know, I'm really just... But you think there's a lot of just pure humans out there still?
I don't think there have been from the beginning, and I think that, you know, the numbers would be surprising if we were able to really detect exact numbers.
Correct.
I think that it's a fairly even mix out of the 5 origins, to be honest with you. You know, another thing, though, I wanted to point out, there are certain personality characteristics. I know Maya and you and I, when you know, you wrote that article way back when, we talked about that. Angelique was correct. She was describing, you know, different body types. But there are personality characteristics. You know, one of Palladians, they're on their 19th generation. There's 19 generations already. And each generation looks different in appearance, their appearance. Of course, they have taken on a human form, so they appear as humans. My peeps. But we're peacekeepers. We've been removed from our planet. We had to leave Etta. We had to go. We're like nomadic because we don't defend. We keep peace. So, you know, someone like that, you know, that's a personality characteristic. If you're someone who, you know, is very gentle in nature and who, not that you dislike confrontation, but you don't like the energy behind it, you will confront if you are defending yourself, of course. There's certain personality, you know, Arcturians, you know, Chironians, the little, what I call weeble wobbles, you know, that the second generation, which are the ones that mostly everybody sees, you know, they're known specifically for personality. They're known to be extremely intelligent, almost to the point where they miss the clues in conversation. You know, like they're almost like
that's so
I mean, there's so many personalities. They think so much faster than they can speak. Absolutely, yeah. So, you know, there's a few things there to, you know, when you talk about, you know, well, how can you identify what you are? There's so many things to really consider. And I think that's, you know, so much more than we have time for here today. But just to point that out, it's not just appearance, it's personality and things like that as well.
All right. So, Angelique, who do we look out for? Which hybrids? And then Sandy, you can, because I tell you that there are dark entities too that we have to deal with, and some of them must be hybrids too. FYI, let me just point out that, like, okay, I mean, let's say that you have some Syrian in you or whatever. That doesn't mean that, I believe there could be good and bad of both, some with good intentions, some with bad. So which ones do we have to watch out for?
I would say anything that is sort of very harsh and very toxic, and it's an ignorance.
It could be any mix too, huh?
In many ways, it's an ignorance thing too. And so, going back to what Sandy, and to address your question, there are a lot of humans who are hybrids that have been hijacked, and they have fallen into, they've closed down, or they've shut down, or they've taken the wrong path, whatever that is, due to whatever the nature of whatever that is, whether it's through addiction or, you know, watching horror movies and all of these different things. And there is a big push collectively to pull people into that grid, actually. And the problem is that people, they're not remembering. So that's almost like it's become so automatic for them. Again, in the grand scheme of things, there is a perfection in all of it. I guess we all knew that a certain percentage would fall by the wayside. And I think this is this empathetic thing that we have, at least many years ago, where we would see the goodness in someone, but eventually, if they don't get with the program, you have to let it go. You got to move on and trust that either they will or they won't. But that's not best served in our time, because I do feel that, you know, we are coming up to a fulcrum point, and it has to be critical mass.
I agree. But it's like now or never. It is time for us to get ourselves together. And it's hard not to be made to feel guilty if you have this one friend that is so needy and their energy just drains you, and how could you not be there for me, friend? But I think that it comes to a point that no, we shouldn't be made to feel guilty if we need to protect our own energy, because there's a bigger mission at hand. And I think that a lot of us are waking up quickly. I mean, look, it's all we were talking last time. The UFOs are all over the news. Things are happening quickly now.
And there's signs.
I think we'll bring up, and Angelique, kind of both of you referenced another point. We have to remember one thing. So whether you're a hybrid or you're an ET, you incarnated to be human. And you incarnated to take on those contracts, human contracts. So now you're of this ascended energy.
I think it's small writing that we didn't get to read fully, though. Like, what did I sign?
You didn't read the small writing. You missed that. You signed it anyway. And so, you're of this evolved ascended energy, but it's, shall we say, dormant. And that's what I meant by waking. And it's dormant because you're actually having the human lessons, human experiences of the lower vibrations, which as the ET or hybrid you had already processed, but in this incarnation, in this form, you're going through them again. So it's almost like there's this discrepancy there, and it can be very confusing until there's the awakening. And like Angelique was saying, that awakening is pulling them back in. People become dormant. They're lost in working through the human experiences. And awakening, which comes through meditative experiences, and awakening helps you uncover innate soul knowledge, helps you remember, like Angelique was saying, remember who you are and discover why you're here. So in the bottom line for all of us is we need to follow higher ascended practices of meditative practices for all of us, literally. That's your doorway. That's your key. That's your ability to wake up.
Yeah, I feel like even 10 or 15 minutes a day just connecting with whatever alignment you need. Yes.
With self. And that can even be an open eye walk meditation anywhere. I mean, it doesn't have to be sit cross-legged, because you cannot.
Exactly.
And actually, to address something that Sandy just mentioned, we also have the phenomena of walk-in. And there are quite a number of those people here as well.
They got to be really confused at first, like, where am I?
And it's a very, very confusing process, because basically that higher part of yourself, sometimes it's a higher aspect of yourself, sometimes it's another entity that you've made an agreement with, but it's more conducive to come in, use the body of someone, you're holding that energy, your agreement with this being that was born, humanly born, is I'll assist to clear your karma. They step out of the way. So you don't have to go through that whole process of growing up or being young. Right. All those filters. But that can be it's a very interesting, very weird, your life basically turns upside down, and usually happens through an accident, something like that, or some sort of loss of time. And then it can usually take, if you're really on track, and I think, and you're really doing the work, it probably takes a good 2 to 3 years to really, really integrate. I work with a lot of they have a very specific thing in their aura. So you can see, but it's almost like coming down to assist us too, and sort of clearing out a little bit of this interference, I would say, in the general population and in the ethos. So there's that other part of the hybrid too.
And I just
one of our bigger blocks, though. I'm sorry again.
No,
one of our bigger blocks is our own inability to validate, our self-doubt. We receive messages all the time.
So important.
And we don't validate them, because we say, well, wow, I couldn't have actually received that, could I have? Because there's a lack of self-love and self-respect, and there's so much self-doubt. We're our own worst enemy from awakening and connecting with source, because we doubt ourselves. So then we doubt what we receive, and right there we shut everything off, and we stay dormant, we stay stagnant. So we have to remember that too. We have to work on ourselves and believe in ourselves and believe we're worthy of being in connection.
I was gonna say, it's funny too, because sometimes I'll be like, all right, I'm just gonna pray, and then my God or whatever will be like, well, okay, but you have to pray. Fine. Well, you got to ask specifically, like, what do you want me to help you with? I can't just be, well, just help me. Okay, well, with what? I'm not, like, yes. There's a difference between mind reading and telepathic communication. So I realize a lot of times, like when I ask for help and guidance, but I'm not being specific.
That's
Like,
it. And as a
okay.
hybrid,
I'm like, no, just do it all. Sometimes I'll be like, look, okay, here's what's broken in me. When I go to sleep, can you just upload me, download me, whatever you got to do. I'm open.
but
I
yes,
did
I
want to
think this.
mention. Sorry, I just want to mention to our listeners also that that if anybody does have questions or comments, or perhaps they have certain traits that they're not sure of, they can always email us. We all share the same email. You can put, if you want to specifically ask Sandy something, or me, or Angelique, you can just put the names in the subject. But you can always email us at paranormalpursuitnews@gmail.com. So it'd be paranormalpursuitnews@gmail.com. So anybody listening, you're always welcome to email us. And on our next episode, we'll always we'll read a couple of the emails, and if we can be of any assistance and guidance, because we all got to stick together. And this
Correct.
is
We're
one
all
big,
walking each other home.
long, yeah, exactly. We all need some hand holding. Is there anything else that we think we want to add to this one? I know that we're saying that our next show we wanted to touch on ghosts, and I almost feel like that's insulting sometimes, because there's so many different levels with that. I know. I'm sorry. I'm not meaning to call entities and that. And some of them are ET, some of them not. I know that we said that next time we would pick up on that topic. So
That would be great. Because, yes, there's a lot of different levels of ghosts, too. And then you have your poltergeists, which are naughty, and the ghosts that are just wandering around until they can go home.
Yeah, I mean, I'll even say really fast to touch on like that kind of energy stuff that Sandy, and we've spoken about, even like, a couple of days ago when I had kind of like this negative situation happen, and I'm out with my dogs in the stroller, and literally, and I'm trying to keep my energy calm, trying not to let it be toxic. And literally, I don't know if it was my energy or like a negative entity, the energy around, but man, I had to do some serious meditation and cleansing. Flip my dog's stroller flat over. My dogs were fine, but this stroller, the way that it flipped over like this, it never should have happened. Like the physics did not. And I was like, you got to be kidding me. I'm like, all right, time to really. And I tell you, sometimes you get a crash course. And sometimes that's what's needed. And I don't think it's selfish. And I think that all of us hybrids need to start learning that. And it's not selfish of us to take time for ourselves and to protect ourselves any way that we need to. Because if it feels good, it feels good. If it doesn't, it doesn't. I think that right then and there is a key sign. If something is making you miserable or draining you, I think we have the responsibility to ourselves and to our missions, whatever that may be. Right. Otherwise, if we're miserable, we're not. Our energy is drained. We're going to be no help to anybody else.
Correct. I have a quick tool that everyone can use.
Yeah,
it takes 5 seconds. 5 seconds. You can be sitting at the dining table, standing in line at the supermarket, whatever that is. Just take both your hands, and if you have one hand with the bag and you use one hand, 2 hands, just do that 3 times. It completely. Pulling off your hair, it opens up your crown again. It removes that interference of that feeling. So you just do it, and you can just be there like that, like you're just playing with your hair or something.
We're going to start seeing people on the street.
Right. But actually, that's a very good, quick hygiene tool when you're feeling discombobulated, or if the energy is in a place is like a little bizarre or sort of destabilizing. You can do that, and you can just literally sort of find your fulcrum point, your center again.
You got any little quick tools, Sandy?
Well, I truly like the defragmentation of the energy. That's anywhere you go, even when you're going into someone's home. It looks like you're doing karate moves, but really, you could lie and say, "Oh yeah."
You're like, "Oh hi,
hi, nice to meet
you." I have another thing where I teach people pretty quickly. Three sources: white, golden, and silver light. And I have them build what's almost like a cage, a fence around them, like in a square, like a box, a tower, and within that, we're pouring the white light in, and it's almost like it's a paint and it's being poured in. And then the next layer is the golden light, and that's almost like filtration sparks. And then finally that silver is that third layer, and it's like anchoring into the ground. And in that silver, we have the titanium and the plutonium.
The square contains. So in Mayan, like light language, the square is the thing that holds the energy, it contains, and then inside you can do the circle. So that's your healing circumference, and then it's boxed in until you've actually held what it is you need to hold, and then dissipate. Yeah.
I'll use the rain a lot. If it's raining, I'll stand outside for a few minutes and be like, okay, let it just You know, it just all
Especially when
wash
it's
off.
warm.
Showers.
Yes.
Showers. Water is very
Yeah,
effective, but
I've
rain, of
been
course, is a
taking, yeah.
natural with the
Let me
nitrates.
tell you,
It's
I
more
took so many
effective.
showers
Yes.
this week with like just the candle on, with like the lights out, just the candle on, and just we're all in this
But
together as a team.
everybody remember, first universal law has to be obeyed. Nothing can invade your energy unless you allow
unless you
it.
give permission.
Has-
Which takes practice too.
Absolutely. And
That's
everybody
easy to
needs to
say,
remember that.
but then when it's people that you're close with, that's when you really have to practice it.
I remember when my son moved out, and the first thing I said to him is, never open the door if somebody knocks the door off. Once you're in bed, never get up and open that door. I mean, obviously, if it's an emergency and they call,
Right.
but in general, because that energy comes when we're most relaxed in bed, you think you'll hear something. And in that opening, there is an invitation to bring something in that you don't want. And so I agree with Sandy. You know, it's.
That's a whole show we should do on that too. A show just specific on that as well.
But I think.
Well, that square that I'm referring to, I usually have people do it, while they're laying in bed before they're going to sleep, but it takes 30 seconons. It's so quick to do it. But you're right, Angelique. That's when you're most vulnerable because you're in that beta and theta stage, which is where
And that
manifestation stage is
negativity will
also.
come.
So I tell them do it right before you go to sleep. Absolutely.
Well, excellent. So I guess next show, ladies, when we'll have Robert next show as well, we should maybe touch on the
Excellent.
ghosts and all in that whole paranormal side.
You didn't hear me before. I'm like, who are you going to call?
Ghostbusters.
Right.
Absolutely.
So let's just tell our audience again, I am sorry, Paranormal Pursuit News at gmail.com if you have any questions or comments. And I guess, ladies, we will next week, same time, same place.
Thank you.
Sounds great.
Right, excellent. We will talk soon. Thank you.
Bye, guys. Stay protected.
Bye.
Take care. Stay protected.